Howdy, folks. I'm a luxurious, lovely llama, lightly licking lodged lemons.
I'm Amber.
And here's some more lodged lemons for us to lick. And yes, I said that weird on purpose. For sure I did. Right, Amber? Lemons. How many different ways can we say lemons? Let me
I
know.
don't know, but I like how your prompt actually says limes.
Oh, too late now. We're
Yep,
going
we're
with
going with
lemons.
it.
When life gives you lemons and you were supposed to get limes, just remember, life just doesn't know what it's talking about. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my girlfriend that her home decor is the reason that I won't host a work gathering at her place? I'm a 32-year-old male, and I've been with my girlfriend, a 29-year-old female, for over a year now. She's smart, funny, and a bit quirky, and has a serious job with a good salary. We have a great time together and generally get along very well. The only thing is that her choice in home decor is bizarre, to put it frankly, and not something that you would think a normal grown adult would be into. Her apartment is definitely a reflection of herself and her interests. Not in the best way though. My girlfriend has a wall dedicated to animation in one room of her apartment, like Futurama, pieces and etchings of some weird triangle guy. Then there's a wall of framed preserved insects in another room. But not insects like butterflies or moths. Instead, she displays tarantulas, beetles, and large stick insects. Her bathroom has a subtle theme of the ocean, pretty common, but instead of starfishes or shells, she has these little anglerfishes, nightlight, and a small vampiric squid painting. Then, a frame diagram of what apparently is a goblin shark by the toilet. I would say a majority of her home decor and furnishings are okay. The apartment itself is very modern and sleek. It's just the random decor of juvenile-ish themes like cartoons, insects, and bizarre ocean creatures that's off-putting. This is where I might be the jerk. I avoided bringing people over to her place, especially people from my job, because of how juvenile it looks. Everyone's impressed when they see the high rise, but that quickly fades once you enter. The one time that I brought a work colleague over, they ended up telling me after that they found her insect wall terrifying. I work in finance, and appearances and first impressions are important. My office will hold casual gatherings where we get together for a few drinks, get food, and rotate hosts. And this time it's my turn. The problem is that my place is under some construction and not an ideal place to be right now. So I've been staying with my girlfriend. My girlfriend suggested that we host my colleagues here since she has space and thinks it'll be fun. I told her that I planned on skipping my rotation and seeing if the next person would be okay with hosting early. She kept pressing on why I didn't want them over here, so I finally said it's because her home decor is strange and not something a grown woman would have. And also that her insect wall horrified the one colleague that did come over. My girlfriend got mad at me and said at the end of the day that it's not my space and these things bring her joy. She also said that she is indeed an adult woman, which is exactly why her apartment is decorated in such a manner. I love my girlfriend, I do, and it's okay to have different interests. But does an adult really need to decorate with them beside a few things here and there? I mean, my own mother asked if my girlfriend was autistic after she saw the entire apartment for the first time. So Reddit, am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend her home decor is the reason that I won't host a work gathering at her place? Alright folks, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk, or just really pretentious?
I think you're being a bit of a jerk here, OP. Although I feel kind of called out about, as an autistic person, that is totally how, if I had an actual house with space to decorate, I'd be like, here's my gothic library, in my rainbow room, in my Pokemon room, like all these different things. I think the problem is that OP is acting like it's childish and weird to have things that aren't like standard home decor items, and that's not cool.
OP, your girlfriend is not going to be changing. She is who she is. These are her interests, and she likes to decorate with them. And how long are you going to hide your work colleagues from her if this is a pretty common thing to do? indefinitely? Are you planning on marrying her and then being like, ah, yeah, I'm just gonna hide her away because she's the weirdo that I keep at home?
You all and hiding, like, what if you combine homes? Are you going to be like, you're not allowed to decorate our place with your interests?
Yeah.
Like, it does seem like very demeaning the way he's approaching it. Like, I understand, like, the bug wall sounds absolutely terrifying as someone who is terrified of dead things. I wouldn't want to be in that room. And if people are judgy because it's not, like, standard or whatever, then, like, that's on them. You don't need their approval.
In the end of the day, OP, you don't get to be the gatekeeper of what's an adult or not an adult. And you really need to understand that that kind of attitude actually is immature in its own right. And that you need to grow up if you think that you are the final say on what adults can or can't decorate their house with. So that's kind of my thoughts there.
Very well said. I second that. You said that better than I thought of.
So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Preferring an Adult Trip Over a Kid's One? I'm a 30-year-old male, and my girlfriend Tara, a 29-year-old female, works in healthcare and makes about 6 figures a year. She has been saving a little bit of money out of each paycheck since she started working at 15, for what she has decided would be her stupid money. Essentially, money that she can spend on anything practical and had to be something fun. The rule that she set for this was to spend the money when she was 30. I know all of this because she has brought it up pretty often over the 3 years that we've been together. Honestly, I have been excited to see what she would do with all that money that she has saved. Today, she came over and told me that she had something exciting to tell me. She said that she had decided what to do with her stupid money. The grand plan that she had come up with was a Disney trip. Which initially I was like, okay, whatever. Her family lived near Disney World when she was growing up. I can understand her wanting to use some of the money for a few days there. But she wasn't talking about just going to Disney World. Her grand plan for spending the money that she's been saving for almost 15 years was to do all the Disneylands in the world. Tokyo, California, Paris, and apparently there's one in China as well. She asked me what I thought, and I had to be honest. So the conversation went something like this. That sounds like a trip that a 7-year-old would plan. Do you seriously want to waste your money on that? And she replies, what do you mean? It would be so fun. And OP says, for a 7-year-old, you could spend part of your money on a trip to Disney World or whatever, but I would really rather be going somewhere that was for adults and actually had some kind of culture. And OP's girlfriend replies, well, we wouldn't just be going to parks, we could spend a few days at each of the cities too. Then I had to tell her how that made no sense. Take Tokyo, for example. She was planning on spending 3 days in a Disney park and 4 days in Tokyo proper, one of the greatest cities in the world. And she wanted to waste almost half of her time in an overpriced theme park? We argued back and forth for a little while, and she ended up leaving. She called me a few hours ago to tell me that if I didn't want to go, that she would be taking her sister as a high school graduation present, but that I was being a jerk about the trip that she had planned for us. I feel like she may be the jerk for trying to take back taking me on the trip that you don't want to go on, but maybe I'm the jerk for being honest and telling her that I thought her idea for a trip was kind of ridiculous for an adult. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yes, you're the jerk. What is it with these guys gatekeeping adulthood today? This is a trip that she has been saving up for with her own money for a very long time, basically half her life.
Yep.
And to just turn around and be like, this trip would be absolutely free to me. This free trip you want to bring me on, it's not cultured enough for me. It's too childish.
Yeah, OP, the biggest problem I have with this whole post is that you actually posted it into the wrong Reddit. This should have been posted in the Choosy Beggars. So I'm sorry, I can't make a judgment on a Choosy Beggar post because, it's not in the right subreddit.
He definitely is being a choosy beggar here. Like, again, there's nothing requiring you to go on this trip. If it isn't to your taste, just set it out. I'm sure she and her sister would have a great time.
That's just it, is that this trip could go to somebody who would appreciate it more. And OP, if you don't appreciate it, then don't go. No one is twisting your arm or breaking your arm over this. So that's kind of my thought.
But plenty of adults enjoy Disney. There's a lot of attractions for adults at Disney. It's not just a kids thing, and so stop gatekeeping adulthood.
Yeah. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Wet Myself for My Sister-in-Law's Wedding? The title is very misleading. The wedding happened in a little river, and I mean in a river, in the water. The minister, bride, who's my husband's sister, and the groom stood on a little strip of land, so they were not wet. But all the attendants were expected to stand there knee-deep in rushing water for the whole ceremony. I'm sure it made for great photos, but I personally really dislike mud, germs, insects, and whatever diseases are found in that stream. The kids who couldn't easily stand in the water, that might be as tall as their whole body, were left in ankle-deep water nearby with a couple of older women. When I refused to remove my shoes, socks, and pull up my dress pants, my husband offered that I stay with the kids, and I said no. I refused to walk into that water, even if it's just ankle deep. And apparently, most people there knew about the water thing, but I didn't. My husband knew, but claims that he forgot to tell me. The ceremony could have easily been moved forward with me standing on the shore, just a few feet away from the kids, but no. The bride and groom apparently refused to start until every person was in the water. And my husband waded back and forth between me and his sister to mediate. My husband was becoming visibly angry at me the longer it went on and kept acting like I was in the wrong. The bride and groom eventually relented and the ceremony went on, delayed by maybe 30 minutes. In the after party, I felt like I was being avoided by everyone, including my husband. That was nearly 2 weeks ago, and my husband has been stone-faced and refused to talk to me about it or about anything at all for several days. And when he started talking again, he refused to address the wedding beyond telling me that I humiliated him in front of his family, and he refuses to talk about it any longer. Things like, I will be really angry if you keep bringing up this topic, put it to rest, and I will try to forget what you did. But I feel like I did nothing wrong. I feel blindsided because if I had been told in advance what the wedding entailed, I would have faked a stomach bug and not attended the thing at all. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do we have to say to poor OP in this situation?
Not the jerk. If I was in your shoes, I would have done the same thing. This is the sort of thing where if you want to have your wedding in a river, it needs to be on the invites. Bring appropriate attire for getting wet because we will be having our wedding in the river. What your husband did was inexcusable, and I have a feeling that he probably didn't forget, that he probably knew you don't like water or, all the other things you listed out and was like, well, we'll just coerce OP into doing that. And if that's the case, that's really not cool.
Yeah, this may have very well been something like OP's husband knew that he wouldn't go into the water if he knew about the situation. And it's really kind of unfortunate that he didn't give him the tools that he needed in order to actually go to this. Because maybe OP could have bought some big, tall rubber boots or something like that so that he wouldn't have gotten wet. And that would have been a great compromise for that, right?
Or give OP a piggyback for the ceremony.
Yeah, maybe that too, right? So I don't think that OP is in the wrong here. I just thought this was a really odd wedding one, so I wanted to share. So let me know what you folks think. Odd wedding story or not?
Yeah, I'm going to skip the river-themed wedding. I'm still going to the gothic one.
So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I the butthead for putting a man with a fragile ego in their place for calling me out in a public setting because I accidentally bothered them at work? And this was submitted to us by somebody who wants some advice. So let's get started. I received an unexpected group text by Jenny, a woman I used to attend church with. Assuming it was a chat for the women's group that I had once been part of, I engaged in conversation. However, a person named Chad, whom I didn't recognize, rudely interjected and demanded that we stop, emphasizing that it wasn't intended as a new group chat. Surprised, I immediately apologized and privately messaged Jenny explaining that I didn't recognize Chad's number and didn't mean to cause the disruption. But as soon as Jenny revealed that the person who responded was Chad, memories of his past behavior came flooding back. Back when we were in the same college Bible study, Chad always displayed an inflated ego. thinking highly of himself, and having a short temper. I vividly remember an incident during game night where he yelled at me in front of everyone and accused me of looking at his cards when he had them displayed in a way that anyone could see. It was an offensive moment for me because he questioned my integrity and humiliated me publicly. At that time, I didn't handle the confrontation well and quietly complained to the group leader afterwards. Fast forward to this recent incident with Chad. His behavior triggered memories of his past nonsense and infuriated me. I couldn't tolerate it anymore, so after being publicly called out, I privately messaged Chad and expressed that if he had a problem, that he should address it privately instead of publicly reprimanding adults. My intention was simply to let him know that his response was inappropriate and not appreciated. To my disappointment, Chad did not offer an apology or show any willingness to find a polite resolution. Instead, he doubled down, asserting that his response was relevant and claiming that he had been polite because he said please. However, the condescending tone was still present. Some people I shared the text with agreed that he was trying to gaslight me. Additionally, a trusted friend mentioned that it wasn't even Chad's group text. My husband, who had heard about the conversation, had even harsher words for Chad, but I chose not to use them. Chad's attitude also rubbed me the wrong way. He seemed to believe that his time was more valuable than everyone else's. This sentiment was echoed by another person in the group who mentioned that we should be respectful of Chad's time since he's a doctor and therefore couldn't be bothered. This kind of entitlement and belief that one's profession makes them better or more important didn't sit well with me. While I understand that medical professionals save lives, it doesn't make them inherently superior or their time more valuable than others. Feeling a need to respond, I waited until I had calmed down, and that evening after work, I sent a lengthy message to Chad. In it, I conveyed how I perceived his actions and explained that I found his behavior offensive. I reminded him of his past unacceptable conduct during the game night incident and emphasized that I would no longer tolerate such treatment. To drive home the point, I sarcastically explained how to use the Do Not Disturb function on his phone and how one can filter out specific contacts for emergencies. After delivering my message, I decided to block him because I had had enough dealing with Chad. Despite some doubts about whether I was making too big of a deal out of it or not, I don't regret standing up for myself. It's worth noting that I didn't resort to name-calling or cursing. Instead, I stuck to expressing to the facts and sharing my feelings. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
I mean, it doesn't sound like OP's being a jerk here. It does seem like Chad is one of those people who thinks his time is more valuable than everyone else's, and the world kind of revolves around him accordingly, and that's not a very good attitude to have. OP is absolutely right that it's easy enough to, like, silence notifications from certain chats, so you only see them during certain hours, or to leave the chat entirely, but to try and dictate what everyone else does in the chat isn't fair.
Yeah, like, if he was this bothered by it, then he should have just left the chat. That's what I would have done if I was annoyed by a group chat. I would have said, oh, hey, sorry folks, I have to run, bye, and then leave the chat. So I really think that this is a terrible attitude that he had, and the fact that this person has kind of a pattern of behavior where they seem to pick on OP, that's really not good either. And it seems like he goes out of his way to make OP into their punching bag, and there are just some people like that, and it's unfortunate that Chad, after all this time, seems to not have grown up at all. So yeah, I don't think that OP's in the wrong, but let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she's got a joke. She doesn't have a joke book. It means that she has it off the top of her head.
Yes. What did the werewolf say when the Dalmatian stole his bone?
Ow!
Probably, but also, doggone it. Courtesy of Brian.
And I have Mega Mint. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Amber, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
We need some kind of moral advice, some kind of guidance, and you, as the designated morality bearer of this group, have to provide it to us. And please, have it in the form of some very odd decorations that you might find on someone's wall.
And here's my Necronomicon. Oh, no, don't touch that. No!
I guess the moral here is don't touch the Necronomicon.
Yeah, I don't know where it's going with that. I just, what would be a bad thing to open up? And, yeah.
That would be certainly not a good thing to open up, at least from my experience with such matters, which is none. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.